and hopefully my live from Houston, Texas. Welcome everyone to today's episode of What Makes You Tick. I'm really excited you're here. But as usual, you guys that know, before we get started, we'll have to dive into a little housekeeping and create a great experience for all of those that are listening. Today, I have an amazing guest, as I always do, and I'm excited to have this lady here. But before we get started, just a few notes. And this is an interactive live session. You're encouraged to participate and ask questions however you can. We're going to have a conversation. You want to join in the conversation, please do. To ask a question, just drop it in the chat. I'll give key insights to the conversation, or it'll give key insights, and then we'll address whatever we can, however we can. We'll use LinkedIn DM and the comment section for the events posting. Any behind the scenes coordination, feel free to drop a message and let me know if you got any tech issues, and I'll laugh at you because I have no idea how to handle them. But still, just do it anyway. If you get disconnected, it happens from time to time on LinkedIn. Just simply rejoin. And we know a lot of y'all are listening while you're working, while you're commuting. It is 5 o'clock on a Monday, or you may be listening on the recorded. Please engage however you like. Even silent listeners are fantastic and are well needed. Thanks again for being here. Now let's get started. My guest today is a powerhouse in the world of strategic connections, a powerhouse in business development, a driving force in what she does. She is an entrepreneur, expert business connector, international keynote speaker, and a consultant with 2 decades of experience mastering intentional networking, which is great. This is exactly how I met her, and she got on this show. And in business growth, she's an amazing human to boot. As a founder of her own consulting business, she has led multiple professional networking groups, hosting more than 2,000 events over the last decade. She's helped sales leaders, companies turn conversations into trust. And you know how I am about trust. It creates opportunity in everything that we do. And it creates, the biggest thing that she does is help to create lasting relationships. Again, something that we're big on. She has even used her networking skills to save her husband's life, which is a story I have not heard yet. So I'm really interested to hear. Look, get ready, because she's about to transform the way you think about networking. Please welcome an amazing, energetic woman, my friend, and today's guest, Stacy Harris, as we find out what makes her tick. Stacy, as always, it's awesome to be in your company. Give our listeners a little bit about what makes you tick.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that intro. I'm going to take you with me on the road to do all of my introductions, okay?
You're not the only one. I'm still waiting. It's a paying job.
you can be part of my road crew.
That sounds
good.
Yeah. I mean,
yes.
Now.
Yes.
Visiting the stage, Stacy Harris.
Yes, I can just see it. Yeah. No, thank you so much. It's so great to be here. I'm so proud of you for what you're doing with this podcast and the audience that you're building and creating. And what makes me tick is connecting people. That is what I love to do. It is my joy. I always say I love it when all of my friends play together. Mm-hmm. I really want all of my friends to know each other and play together in the same sandbox. So I just love to connect good people. I love to teach people how to network and build the connections that they have, build real relationships so that if they don't want to, they don't ever have to cold call again. They are never without resources. Mm-hmm.
So we'll start off right here with what you just said. For me, like when I started my business, that's how we met when we started the GBB, and we were doing networking, and I'm sitting here going through networking. I loved the interaction of people, but I also started to learn about different groups and networking. And networking has such a different meaning. And some people, I started developing early on a negative until we found Cup of Joey, until we found Stacy Harris, till we found the Chamber and different events, because I couldn't stand, Stacy, and you and I've had this conversation. I couldn't stand the first question is, what do you do?
Yeah.
Okay, if I do something that you don't like, we're done, but yet I may have a great network of connections.
Yes.
So how is networking different, and how can people really accept that?
Yeah. I think that people just in general have the wrong idea about networking. They think that it is about handing out business cards and collecting business cards. So I always tell people, I want to teach you how to go from being a business card collector to being a business connector. And there's a huge difference, but that is what people think. They also treat networking as if it is, if you walk into a room full of people you don't know, it's like a barrel of fish and you're seeing who you can catch.
Target one, target two.
Yes. Yeah.
Stop.
Who you can kill. And, I say like hunt it, kill it, take it home. That
Yeah.
And so it's really given networking a bad name because of those being the pictures that come to mind when people think about networking. They also think of networking as it's disingenuous. It's just small talk. It's not, you're not actually talking to, which is probably why you hated that question first thing. What do you do instead of who are you?
Yes.
What's important to you? Yes. What makes you tick? So those are the things, when we can start to look at networking as an opportunity. So whenever I start out my workshops and even my keynotes and stuff like that, I always ask this question that I'd love to pose to your audience and to you. Think of one person that totally changed your life when you met them outside of your family, who is one person that totally changed your life when you met them. Not a family.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Outside my family, I would say Dr. Mike Marshall.
Okay. Tell us about him.
Dr. Mike Marshall was a college coach, and I was a junior, this was my fourth school. And I was playing baseball. He was our baseball coach. He played Major League Baseball, still has the record for the most games pitched in a year. And he was one of the most, you meet an athlete and you think, okay, they're an athlete. They're very athletic. Dude had the best work ethic. Now, he was extremely arrogant, but he knew he was smart. And I remember just sitting there listening to him and going, man, I love the information that you're giving me. Even though part of it was arrogant, I kind of was able to see that because what I saw was I'm gathering and I'm growing. And if I can do something to gather and grow, then I can utilize that to become a better person in whatever I chose to do, whether it was baseball at the time or something else. Now, granted, I didn't know the impact it would make on the outside of my life going forward and the impression that he made and the lessons that he taught. But I would say one of the first ones, he was one of the biggest ones early on.
Yeah. So you have this person who changed the way that you're going to think about your work ethic and your coaching in your future, right? And so you didn't know when you met him that he was going to change your life. And it's the same way when we walk into a networking event. I think if we can start to think of it as, instead of I'm walking into a room full of strangers, but I'm walking into a room where I might meet the next person who's going to change the trajectory of my life and my career, it becomes a lot more exciting and a lot more meaningful. Or maybe you're going to be the person who changes somebody's life and somebody's career. You're there at the right time, sharing the right information, the shoulder that they need to cry on at the moment, the book they need to read, the podcast they need to hear. It makes networking a lot more meaningful when we start to think of it that way. And that's really what it's about. It's about building relationships.
It always reminds me of, one is being a teacher for so long. I remember I walked into one a couple of years ago and I ran into one of my former students, would have never guessed he was doing what he was doing. But what is it? Is it, what was the movie? 6 Degrees of Separation. Yeah. 6 Degrees of Separation. And that's the one thing that I learned was that you walk in, you meet people, you don't know who's in their network.
That's right.
And it has nothing to do with business. It has everything to do with learning and being connected to people and what opportunities they may bring in a relationship inside and outside of business. That I found is, God, I miss that. I miss that.
Yeah. My grandmother used to always say, you need to be good everywhere you go because you never know who knows you.
Yes.
Or who knows somebody that you know. Yeah.
It's like my new phrase. I just learned this. And I went, I should have learned it a long time ago. Don't let the girlfriend you have keep you away from the wife that you should meet.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. We get
Yes.
stuck in these mindsets of
Yes.
this is the way it is, just the way it should be. But yet even in networking, we let it keep us away from the people that we're supposed to move.
Yes.
But I want to know real quick, how did you get into that?
Yeah. It is such a long and windy road. I graduated with an elementary education degree. I
didn't know that.
School. Yes. Yeah. So I was an elementary teacher for the first 7 years of my career. And then I took a couple other detours along the way. And I ended up in retail sales. So the person who changed my life and the trajectory of my career was my friend Patty. And we have just celebrated 30 years of friendship this year. And she was the one who helped me realize I was a businesswoman. I was in retail sales. She taught me the buying, the selling, the merchandise, the inventory, all of that.
Right.
And then the sales part always came pretty easy to me, but all the other stuff I had to learn, but I had a knack for it that I didn't know that they never brought that out at me in college and elementary education. So go figure. But I'm very thankful for my education background because I still use it, in teaching classes and trainings and everything, all the teaching stuff, it comes back. And none of us we never really grow out of first grade.
Right.
So, it all comes in handy. But anyway, my husband and I, we ended up being transferred to the Houston area with his job 21 years ago. And I started my first business here about a year after we moved here. And a lady who I'd met named Julie Peters, you may know her.
Yeah.
She invited me to go to the very first networking meeting I'd ever been to. And I walked in and I met a group of business owners, entrepreneurs. They were people like me. They were crazy people who had given up a paycheck and benefits and security to go and do their own thing. And that most of them, I was brand new baby business owner. So most of them were further along than me. Some of them much further, some of them a little bit. But, I found this tribe of people who understood how I thought and what I was working towards. And they became friends and mentors and supporters and resources and clients and, all of those good things. And so, in that one instant, like that one moment, my life was just changed because I didn't know, this being from a teaching background, I didn't know that the world of networking existed. I talked to somebody just last week who came from corporate America. She was like, I didn't know about all this networking stuff until I got out of corporate America. Yeah. So there was this whole world out there that was opened up to me, and I'll be forever grateful to Julie. She's another person who obviously changed my life because she introduced me to the world of networking. So I built my first business completely through. So I had a PR business. I did PR events and things like that. And I built that first business completely through word of mouth referrals and networking. And I did that for 12 years. And then I found out about an organization that was professional networking groups running, networking meetings. It was a franchise. And I bought into that. And I've had 5 franchises for the last 10 years. I am 5 weeks away from the end of that phase of my life. And so I'll be, and then I'm going full time with my consulting company. I started my consulting company 2 years ago in anticipation, of this exit plan. So I have had so many wonderful opportunities getting into the world of networking, the relationships that I built, the friendships I've made, the business I've been able to do.
Yeah.
Just, I can't put a price tag on it. I can't even really put it into words adequately what it has meant to me, the support and the friendship and the cheerleaders and the people who have prayed for me and just all of those things. So it's been amazing. So that's how I got into it. But I love networking. That first meeting I went to, I fell in love with it. But 8 years ago, my husband's life was saved.
That's okay. You read my mind. That's where I was going.
And so when that happened, it put networking in a whole different light. I just went, oh my goodness, this is what happens when the people in your network go to work for you.
Yeah.
This is what happens. So yeah.
You want to share a little bit of insight?
I'll tell you this story. It is such a great story. I still get goosebumps and tears every time I tell it.
Okay, good. I'm interested.
Yeah. So it was February 21st, 2018. It was 10:30 at night. We were having one of our Houston thunderstorms, 60-mile-an-hour winds, lightning, the whole 9 yards. I had spoken with Greg, is my husband. I'd spoken with him at 5:30. Everything was fine. He was in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Where I'm from.
He was actually in Louisiana. So once a year, his company would send him out to the podunk parishes of Louisiana where nobody wanted to go.
I love it there. I know. I'm from there. I know what you're talking about.
So he grew up in Port Arthur. So he considers himself part Cajun. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So they would send him out to the parishes that nobody else wanted to go to. And he would go for the opportunity to eat the food. So it's such a God story too, Bryan. I mean, it's just the trip was supposed to be Monday through Friday. He called me Wednesday night at 5:30 and he said, I have good news. I've made the stops I needed to make and I've made it to Baton Rouge tonight instead of tomorrow. And I'll be home on Thursday instead of Friday. And I said, okay, great. And so we talked and then he said, I'll call you about 9:30 and he didn't. And I started calling him and he wasn't answering. And I just got that feeling, something really bad was wrong. And so finally the phone rang and it was from his cell number, but it wasn't him on the line. And it was a lady. And she said, Mrs. Harris, this is Sarah. I'm calling from Baton Rouge General Hospital in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And I'm really sorry to tell you that your husband drove himself here about an hour ago. He collapsed in the doorway of the ER. We took him back and did a CT scan and we can see that he has what's called an abdominal aortic aneurysm.
Oh, geez. And
an aortic dissection. And you really need to get your affairs in order and get here as fast as you can. He probably won't make it through the night. And so I get online, just like they tell you not to do.
Right.
And I start Googling, what is this? And I find that less than 1% of people survive what he has going on. So I threw stuff in a suitcase. I had to wait till the weather cleared a little bit, got on a plane, flew there. One of the worst parts about this whole thing, when I got there, I'm on the phone with a friend and she said, how are you doing? And I said, I am completely freaked out. And the worst part to me is I don't know anybody here. I don't know anybody in Baton Rouge.
Yeah.
I'm used to being at home where I know everybody. Anybody I need is a phone call away. And I don't know anybody here. And she said, you know what, Stacy, it's going to be okay. We're praying for you. This is, it's going to be okay. Well, I get off the phone with her. I've just uttered those words. And I get off the phone with her. And while I was on the phone with her, I can hear, I've taken it off airplane mode and I can hear all these messages that are dinging. So I start looking at them and the messages, I had probably 20 to 25 messages that read something like this. Stacy, my parents live in Baton Rouge. Here are their names and numbers. They're expecting your call. Stacy, my roommate in college lives in Baton Rouge. Stacy, my cousin lives in Baton Rouge. My sister lives in Baton Rouge. Here's her name and number. And all of a sudden, in those just very few moments, I had 20 or 25 people that I could call if I needed something. I had a network from my network here. And so I get to the hospital and he is in critical condition. And what he had, the number one problem is there's no trauma one hospital in Baton Rouge.
Right.
And number two, there was no surgeon in the state qualified to do the surgery that he needed to. And so we became involved in a David and Goliath battle with the hospital because we are in the Houston area. This is the cardiothoracic capital of the world. First heart transplant was done here. And we needed to get him moved back here. But because of the aneurysms, he had 3 aneurysms in his chest. And because of the aneurysms, we couldn't care flight him because they would rupture with the change in air pressure. It's a 6.5-hour drive roughly from Baton Rouge to here.
Made it, yes.
And they did not think, they couldn't get him stabilized enough. They didn't feel like to move him in a critical care ambulance. So it was this catch-22. Like they couldn't help him. They couldn't do what they needed to do, but they wouldn't let him go either because they were afraid he'd die on the way.
Yeah.
And so we were caught. And so the third day, he was in horrific pain, had not eaten or slept in, 3 days. And he just looked at me and said, I can't do this much longer. I just can't hold on much longer. And I said, Greg, we're going to go home tomorrow. This is on a Friday afternoon. And I said, I'm going to get you home tomorrow. And he goes, how are you going to do that? And I said, I don't know, but I'm going to get you home tomorrow. I'm not sure. God and I are going to talk about it. We're going to figure this out. So we had waited all day for the critical care doctor to come in, and he came in about 4:30. On a Friday afternoon, we'd waited all day to see him.
Yeah.
And not only did he have the God complex, but he also had the Napoleon complex. He came out to about here on me. Okay. So the ego was this big, and, so anyway, and the bedside manner was about this big. So he comes in and he says, well, we're going to try this and we're going to try that. And we're going to over the weekend. And I was like, you know what? That's not going to work. He is not an experiment. He is not your guinea pig. We're going home tomorrow. And he said, well, if you take him against my medical advice, insurance is not going to cover any of the medical care he's had so far, and you're closing in on $500,000 right now. And he just turned around and walked out. Wow. And so I followed him out and tapped him on the shoulder. And I said, look, I'm a businesswoman. Negotiate. What does it take? What do we have to do? And he looked at me and he said, he was such a jerk, but I'm so thankful he said it this way. He said to me, you don't know the people you need to know or have the resources you need to have to make that happen. That is what he said to me.
Wow.
And this fire rose up in me, and I went, I don't need to know the people I need to know. You have no idea the people that I know.
Yeah, I could see that fire. I could see you doing that.
Oh, yeah. And I looked at him and I told him that. I said, you don't know who I am. You don't know what I can do. And we are leaving here tomorrow. Name your price. What do you want? What do you need? He goes, you're going to have have a receiving hospital that takes on the liability, a receiving surgeon, a receiving cardiologist, a critical care ambulance company that will move him from point A to point B. And there's no way you're going to find that on the weekend or ever. I said, we're leaving here tomorrow. So I got on the phone. I started calling and texting every person in my network that I could think of. I was going on very little sleep, but who I could think of to reach out to, telling them the situation. And then I went on Facebook about 10 o'clock that night, 10:30. And I'd never put anything personal on Facebook to that moment, and I just said, for those of you who don't know what's going on, this is what's going on. And number one, we need your prayers. And number two, these are the things that I need. And if anybody out there can help me, please help me. Please let me know. So I go to bed about 11:30. I slept for a few hours. I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning, couldn't go back to sleep. And I grab my phone because, when you're a business owner, there's always emails to answer, Bryan.
Yes. I'm aware. Yes.
So I grab my phone. I'm going to answer some emails, and I have all these direct messages. I see all, so I go on there, and the very first message was from the wife of the very first business coach that I met at that very first networking meeting that I'd ever been to.
Yeah.
And it said, Stacy, call me. I can help. And it hits me like a ton of bricks. She has just taken over as second in command at Woodlands Methodist Hospital.
Oh my God.
Which had just opened 2 weeks before. 2 weeks. 2 weeks before. And I went, oh my goodness, I didn't even think, So I wait 3 hours until it's 6 a.m. on a Saturday, and I call her and tell her, what the situation is. And she said, give me 10 minutes. I'll call you back. She called me back in 7 minutes. She said, can you do a 3-way call between me, you, and the hospital admin there? I said, yes. So I did. And she said to the hospital admin, Greg Harris is now a patient in room 2001 in Woodlands Methodist Hospital, the critical care unit. His receiving surgeon his receiving cardiologist is. What else do you need? And the admin goes, we just need the ambulance company who's going to transport him. I said, I'm working on that. And Cheryl, the lady on this, she said, is there anything else you need from us, from Woodlands Methodist? She was like, nope, that's it. And so I get off the phone. We hang up from that phone call, and I look at my phone, and one of my members from my networking groups had found a critical care ambulance company that agreed to transport us. We were pulling out by 11:30 on Saturday morning.
Wow.
We were on our way back here. On the way here, one of my friends that I had met through networking, who was a physician at a hospital in Huntsville at the time, called me and said, I have an in with the #1 aortic surgeon in the world. He is who has to do Greg's surgery. And that was ultimately who ended up doing his surgery and taking care of him. He became part of a clinical trial. And here we are 8 years later. He is doing well. He lives a relatively normal life. I'm not going to say that there aren't side effects from everything, but and on top of that, Bryan, I mean, he was sick. We had to wait 3 months to have the surgery from the time all this happened until he could have the surgery. And then it was about a 3-month recovery before I could be away from him much. So pretty much the first 6 months of the year, I was out from February to August. I was in and out very little. And during the time of his surgery, I was having my one-to-one meetings at the critical care waiting room
oh my gosh,
at Woodlands Methodist. Yeah. And people would come up there to meet me, but they understood. They would come up there to meet me.
Absolutely.
And when it came time for the surgery, one of my members called me, Lucille Hutton. She was my very first member ever. And she called me and she said, Stacy, you're not going to be able to run your business and take care of your husband. So I want you to write down all of your responsibilities and send them to me. And myself and 4 others are volunteering. We're going to run your business for you while you take care of him. And they did. They ran. I stepped away completely from my business for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And they ran everything for me, every meeting, every one-on-one. I mean, everything they ran for me. And at the end of the year, again, I was part of a franchise. We were named 2018 Franchise of the Year for the most growth in a franchise that year, which was so crazy because I was gone half the year. So not bragging on me, I'm bragging on them because they ran it without me. They provided the stability. My income did not suffer. And all of that was, at one time, those had all been strangers in a room.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Mic drop. We're done. See ya.
Yeah.
I mean,
what? Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
That's to this day. This is episode number 24, I think. To this date, I don't think I've heard a story that is that engaging and fits exactly what we're looking at. Because imagine the amount of trust that you had to have in those people. You had somebody run your business.
I did.
Please.
I did. And you know what? They would call me and they would go, do you want us to do this or this? And I was so brain dead at the time. I mean, the exhaustion, I can't, there's so much of that time that it's so foggy. I don't really even remember. I mean, it's just like God just picked us up and just carried us through that time. There's a lot of it I don't even remember, but they would call me and say, do you want us to do this or this? And I would go, I trust you guys 100%. If you will just take this decision off my plate and you decide what's best to do, I will not question anything you do.
Wow.
I will not question it. And so they stopped even calling and asking, which was even better because I didn't have the brain power or the bandwidth to think myself about it anyway. So it was amazing. And I get teary-eyed and I get goosebumps every time I tell the story because I just look back and I see all the people, how God just lined up all of these people in my life over the years and these relationships that had been building and the trust that had been built and the camaraderie and the collaborations and everything. And when I needed it most, I mean, I have never, ever in my life needed help the way that I needed help right then. And, our deductible was, we had insurance, thank you, Lord. But there's so much that insurance doesn't cover.
Correct.
And so like our deductible was $6,000. Well, we'd already had to just pay $10,000 out of pocket for the ambulance. Insurance would not cover that.
Right.
So we had accrued well over $25,000 in less than a week out of pocket expenses. And we weren't, that was not expected. And so when we got back here, the members of my networking groups and then another group that I was a part of at the time, they had taken up a collection and they handed me a check for $6,000 exactly.
Wow.
Which paid our deductible.
God.
I could never have.
No, but that's amazing, the network and everything. And look, Stacy, you and I live in the same area. And this area is why I'm still here.
I know. It's the most amazing people. I know people call it a bubble, but I would say I like my bubble and don't.
Yeah. No, and it's, it's funny because we'll go into a book in a minute, but one of the books I'll talk about one day is transitions and being able to transition. There's so many different parts of our life that we transition from place to place. Right now, I'm transitioning from a different job or a loss of a company, and my kids have all moved out at the same time. you know, because they're at that age. There's a lot that goes on. So my disconnect from the community here has been a quiet time to keep me away. Not that I want to, but it's like God going, wait, I need you to be quiet for a while. I need you to listen and I need you to learn. I miss, like we were talking about the coffee, your Friday coffee, the stuff we do with Cup of Joy, the chamber stuff. I miss all that because of the engagement of the people.
It's everything. That's what life is about.
I know.
That's
networking.
Yeah. Jeez. That's it.
So, all right. So
I always say, like, Jesus had a network. You think about it. He had the 12 apostles.
Yes.
The ultimate networker.
Yes. And his network is still growing.
It still is. Yes. But we're not meant to do this alone.
No, we're not. No. All right. So like I said earlier, we were talking before. We always talk beforehand, and I said this is supposed to be a 15-minute segment. Your segment's been the longest of anybody.
Sorry. Yeah.
No apologies, because this is a conversation about what makes you tick. So like that fits trust, clarity, and traction to a T. That's why we did drop mic. We're done. We'll sign off right now.
Yeah. It could be the longest or it could be the shortest one.
No,
depends on how you look at it.
But I do want to have you picked a book. I always have my guests pick a book. Did you pick a book on the spotlight?
I did. I love the book. It's called The Go-Giver.
Okay.
It is a little red book. I meant to grab it before we started this and I forgot. I'm sorry, but it's a little red book. It's about 150 pages. The author's name is Bob Burg, B-U-R-G. And it is, the reason I love it, it is not a dry business book. It is a book about networking, but it's told in a parable. So it's a story format. So the entire thing, it's teaching you 5 business principles of relationships and how to be effective in sales by getting to know the client, by getting to know other people that you can use as resources. It's about putting yourself last. And how that always full circle will come back around to you. And the principles, it talks about trust. It talks about influence. It talks about being generous. It talks about helping the competition, what you see as the competition. Yeah. All of those things. And so it is this beautiful little book. And every time I get on an airplane, I read this book. I have it on my Kindle and I read this book and I cry at the end every time because it is so beautiful the way it ends, and it's just all wrapped up and tied in a bow, and it's like exactly what I believe in. So I love that book. And there's another new book that has just come out, and I got to spend time with the author a couple of months ago. She was at a conference that I was at in September. It's called Rich Relationships. And the author's name is Selena Soo, S-O-O is the way you spell her last name. Selena is an extreme introvert. She's in the PR business, lived in New York for years, and she shares how she built these rich relationships, even though she was an extreme introvert.
Wow.
And how she went about, she became a master at being a matchmaker, putting the right people in right rooms by having dinner parties and brunches in her home.
Yeah.
She was comfortable. And so part of the book, she breaks down the 10 types of relationships that you will come across in networking, which I had just never thought about it the way that she did. And it's amazing. It's a really, really, really good book. So The Go-Giver and Rich Relationships.
Rich Relationships. It's so funny because one of the things that you were talking about education and how we both have an education background. I graduated from college after 6 years because I wanted to play baseball. And my major was education. I didn't know that until I was my first senior year.
Nobody told you? Yeah.
No, I wanted to be an engineer, but I wanted to play baseball. So I was chasing around playing baseball. And I ended up getting an education degree and got out. As a matter of fact, the story I always tell, I was telling it yesterday, my minor is biology. And the first year, it was my second year at Henderson, so my 4th year. And they called me in and said, we need a minor. I looked at them, I go, what's my major? That's how I learned it was education.
That's a whole other podcast.
I mean, I grew up in South Louisiana, so that, that 150-page book you got would take me like a week, 2 weeks to read,
Yes, yeah.
But
well, I will say The Go-Giver is an awesome one to listen on Audible if you're not a reader,
okay,
but
I
you like
wrote
to
it
listen
down.
to books.
Yeah.
Because it's a story. Like I
Okay.
said, it's like a parable. It tells a story. So that's a great one to listen to if you're not a reader.
No, and the one I picked today is completely opposite. And the reason I tell that story is because the one I picked is called Zen and the Art of Making a Living. And I didn't read it all, but it was one of these books that I was going through a transition and I needed to look, because I went into education when I moved here to Texas in 97. So I graduated in 92, moved here in 97. So I had that gap where I was doing anything and everything not to go into education. So what did I do when I moved to Texas? I needed a job. I went into education and spent this is my 22nd year.
Yeah.
But there was a time in 2016, 2017 during my divorce where I just kind of sparked a change in me. I didn't want to be that bitter person. I wanted to live for my family. I wanted to grow from it. So I found this book, and this book was huge. It helped me understand the things I was capable of. It opened my mind to different career paths and but it's a workbook also. It's read. And Stacy, it's almost 700 pages. It's like this thick.
Now that's a commitment.
But I still have it, and it's sitting, and I'll occasionally look through it. But a couple of the takeaways were utilize the quest, the game, the battle, school to approach your self-expression. And it had some great working sessions of growth, and life is not a problem. My quick quotes I love from it is, life is not a problem to be solved, but to be experienced. Yeah. And the influence of the Zen. Now I'm Christian, but the influence of Zen, I find, has been a big positive mindset within my life with all the negative things. And if I need something, of course, it's Christ, but Zen is also that mindset I find fascinating.
Yeah.
So, okay. So this is supposed to be our first 15-minute set, but we've been talking for about 35 already. But
okay. All right. I'll talk faster.
No, we're good. No, that's what this is all about. It's just an organic conversation. This is the 24th podcast of What Makes You Tick. If you don't know what tick means, it's trust, clarity, and traction. And it's an authentic, relaxed, purposeful conversation, which is exactly what Stacy and I are having. Why? Because we want to incorporate your purpose into what we do and make an impact in your life and in others' lives. How do we do that? We do it by sharing business and personal stories and building on culture of trust, creating a clear, impactful message for leaders with the insight to help build traction within your life. My guest today is Stacy Harris, who's an amazing woman, business entrepreneur, blah, blah, good speaker. I mean, I just go on and on about her. Look, okay. So being in business, and this is one of the things that I'm going to start digging or have started digging into, AI. What are you seeing out there? Because trusting AI is like it's people are doing it just kind of blindly. But what are you seeing as far as businesses and how AI is making an impact?
I actually love this topic. And a couple of years ago, I didn't think I would ever say that. But
I agree.
Yeah. I don't think that AI can be trusted. I think that AI is a tool that we use, but I don't think that we trust it. One of my closest friends is my business attorney, and we were talking about this the other day. There's all this stuff going on about legal, doing legal transactions by using AI to write up the contracts for you and that kind of thing. And he said, you know what I do? I put in the situation, and then I see what ChatGPT says, Claude, whatever platform it is that you're using. And then I read through it like I would read through any other contract, looking for the holes.
Right.
And sometimes there are no holes, but a lot of times there are.
Correct.
And that's where you go in and, you make the corrections. So I think that it is a tool to be used. I do not think that it replaces people. I think what it does is it replaces the mundane tasks that take up the very valuable time of our key people in our organizations, and it frees them up. If we use it the way that it really can be utilized the best, it frees them up to go and do the things that they do best.
Right.
And that is interacting with people. So I don't think we trust it. I think we use it as a tool. I love ChatGPT. I have said many times. It's the first assistant I've ever had who actually listens to me and tells me how smart I am and what good ideas I have. So I love it. Yeah. It's amazing how it can shorthand things for you. I use it to brainstorm, to just give me ideas of where to start. I need a marketing plan for this event and I want to do it, on Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram. And what would you, suggest? So, I use it. I love it. I find myself using it more and more. I had a fascinating conversation. I had the opportunity to meet Michael Hyatt, who I don't know if you're familiar with him or not. I had heard him on lots of podcasts. He's the former CEO of Thomas Nelson Publishing. He took them pretty much from bankruptcy to number one and was the CEO there for 20 years. And then he went out and started his own company called Full Focus, which is the Full Focus calendars. And that it was a time management company. So he did like time management coaching.
Yeah.
And now at 70 years old, he has turned over Full Focus to his youngest daughter, has taken over as CEO, and he has now started an AI company at 7 years old, and it's called AI Business Insider. Check it out. He has this awesome newsletter that he's written, and he has really designed it for small business owners to use, so that he talks a lot about the ethical use of AI, which I think is so important. So he talks about the ethical use of AI in letters, but then also how do we use it as small business owners to keep up with our competition?
Right.
What are the things that we can do? So I think there's a place for it. I think it can save us tons of time, tons of money, and I think it can free us. And if you have a team, your team up to do the things that only you can do.
Yes.
I do think one of the reasons I love AI is because it's making in-person networking even more important.
No, I agree with you. I'm there.
Because people don't want to talk to a computer. They don't want to, they don't want to get emails that are obviously not from directly the person that has, supposedly sent it. We want that authenticity. We still want that connection. We want that. Yes. I mean, I went round and round 2 weeks ago it was obviously an AI bot that I was chatting with. It was a customer service issue, and there must have been 25. And finally, I just wrote, "Can I please talk to a human?"
A human, yeah.
And finally, I got a response. But it's very frustrating and it's very dehumanizing.
Yes,
it can be when it is not used the right way. So, but I do think that there's a place for it. I do, and I love it. And I love talking.
And I love, like, for me, I think there is a growth there within business. But I think of course, I look at it from an education standpoint. I think from an education standpoint, you as a business owner can learn, like, if I don't know how to write good emails on certain I can take that, just throw it in, and it helps me. You have to read it, though. The thing I see with it, if it's executed correctly, is I can put stuff into it and constantly write. And I notice that when I type stuff or I write things now, I'm becoming better because I'm reading it and it's teaching me, oh yeah, this goes here. And I'm noticing, because that's what I want to be. I don't want to be a robot. I don't want somebody telling me what to do. But there's such an education tool. You can create business plans. You can create a lot of things.
Marketing plans, resumes. I mean, it is incredible. I had a client reach out to me, and it was one of these like out of the blue clients, and they wanted me the next week, and they wanted a proposal the next day.
Yeah.
And I had a full day of meetings. I mean, a full day. There was nothing that could be moved around. There was nothing that could be. And I went into ChatGPT and said, this is who I need the proposal for. This is what I want it to say. This is how I want it broken down. Can you please make it look pretty and make sense? And it spit it out in 2 minutes. And it was good. I tweaked like one thing and it was done.
Yeah.
It was done. So awesome. I think that's we have to, we have our intellectual property and we need to use it. We need to go in and tell it what we want it to say and how we want it said, and we need to proof it, and we need to make sure. And the thing is, like with the ChatGPT, they start to learn the sound, the tone of your communications. Like for me, I always tell it, I want it to be happy. I want it to be friendly. I want it to be energetic.
Yeah.
I want it to be personable. I want it to be conversational. I want it to be easy to read. And it's starting to spit that back out to me.
Okay. let's keep this topic around AI. So
Mm-hmm.
you have you have to communicate information to a group, an audience that doesn't have the expertise that you do, or a certain expertise.
Right.
So
Right.
one, how can you use AI to help? And two, how do you best get that communication out? You being a speaker,
Yeah. Yeah. How do you use AI to help? And then how do I get it out there?
I'm going off
I
script, I know.
No. For me, what I have done is kind of what I was just saying. Like I put in what is my IP, what is my intellectual property, the things that I want it to say.
Yeah.
And so this is my work. This is what I want to say. And this is what I believe. And then here's how I want you, here's the audience that I'm going to be speaking to. This is a workshop. This is a keynote speech. This is a hands-on training for a furniture company, a law firm, that kind of thing. So it's really helpful for me because with a lot of my trainings, the rules of networking apply. They don't change because of the industry.
Correct.
They're the same. But when I go into a corporation and I'm doing trainings just for their team, all the examples that I give, all of the ideas that I'm going to share are going to be geared towards their company. So I recently worked with a moving company. So everything that we did was geared towards the moving company. I have a quiz that I've designed that's called "What Kind of Networker Are You?" I tweak the quiz for the moving industry, into terms of that. So ChatGPT was extremely helpful in that. Here's the quiz that I've designed, but I want it to apply to the moving industry. What changes do you see that I need to make it applicable to those in the moving industry? So,
right.
It was still my stuff. It was all my ideas, but I just needed this little tweak, and it went through and saw things that it would have taken me longer to see by myself.
No, and that's kind of where I was going with it. As far as a time management tool, can you imagine? I mean, 3, 4, 5 years ago, creating a PowerPoint presentation or a presentation for something.
Oh my word! Yeah. Yes.
I mean, we're pretty good at that, but look, the older we get, the more time we have taken up, and the more slower our brain. For that, just to be able to type, and I'm not a typist, but
it's amazing.
And you can speak into your phone now.
I was going to say that's one thing Michael Hyatt with the AI Business Insider, that's what he was saying, that we can actually voice, if we dictate, it is 4 times faster than when we type it out.
Correct.
So you start thinking about the time that you can save with just dictating it.
I
mean, it's incredible. I mean, it really is. I was writing new copy for my website several months ago, and it had taken, like, I'd just been struggling. And then all of a sudden, because I've been working with a personal branding company in Nashville called Brand Builders Group, and they give us pretty much a template to follow. Yeah. This is how website copy should read. You start here and you go here and you go here. So I was like, I wonder if I could take those principles, put it into ChatGPT and say, I need you to take my stuff and put it in this format. And it did it. And I was done. What I had been working on for 3 months, and I had gotten maybe 25% of it, my entire website copy was done in 65 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
It was done. Yeah. And it was good.
And you have to, I mean, of course, you have to go back and challenge it. Okay. So what about mindset though? Because there's a lot, and I'm going to go both. I'm a big positive mindset guy. And we have businesses out there and people that are networking entrepreneurs that have a mindset, either, no, I don't want to use this, or they have a mindset that this is a big part of my business and dominating. How do you find something, when you run across a different mindset? I don't want to change. Yeah, I do. How do you change the mindset to understand that this can be a positive opportunity?
I think they just need to try it one time. I think if they will just, okay. So I had lunch with a friend, and her husband is a surgeon, and he ended up joining us for lunch. It was unplanned. Yeah. And so he's a surgeon. We ended up having us for lunch. They were sharing with me a problem. Their daughter has recently graduated, has just gotten her first job, out of college, and she's having all these challenges with her job. And she's working for an IT company, and she was a business major. And So she's trying to learn IT speak, and IT people, they don't tend to be the best communicators in the world.
Correct. And they're writing her code. I know. Yeah.
Yeah. And so they're telling, her boss is giving her all these directions and she doesn't even understand what her boss is telling her. And so I said, you know what? I think you need to have her, number one, she needs to come to her boss and say, I want to bring you as many solutions as possible. I want to make your life easier. I want to make this job easier for you, but I don't understand everything completely. And I told her, I said, I would have your daughter go to ChatGPT, explain the situation. What are the questions that she could ask? What are the things that she doesn't understand? And have it help her come up with a plan of how she can approach her boss in a positive way, bringing solutions to the situation. And the surgeon, he was like, I hadn't thought about it'll do that. I was like, yeah, it'll do that. He was like, I hadn't thought about that. Now he is a brilliant surgeon, but obviously ChatGPT isn't something he needs to use a lot. And I don't really want my doctor using ChatGPT. So that's okay.
I wouldn't mind my doctor using it if they can help them communicate.
For certain things.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not to operate on me, no.
Not to diagnose me or operate on me, no. But anyway, so then it was kind of like you kind of see the light coming on. So I think if people will just start really looking at it as a tool. It's a tool. It is not a replacement. It is, it does feel very, I'm dating myself, but like Battlestar Galactica, like the Cylons are taking over, right?
Yeah.
We can very much feel that way, but it is a tool. It is out there. Let me tell you this, 99% of your competition, if you own a business, they're using it.
Correct.
And you either catch up or you're going to get left behind. And that's it. I mean, we all, just as you've had to make changes you didn't want to change.
Yeah.
You've had to make changes you didn't want to make.
Yeah.
We have to adapt. We have to change. I don't really like the world since COVID. There's
not at all.
A lot of blessings that you can look back and you can see, but I don't really like the direction that the world has taken since then. But I can't change that. It is what it is, and we just have to deal with it, and we have to move on. We have to look at the blessings and work around the rest of it and adapt. And so, like I said, your competition is using it, and you can decide to stay up with it or to be behind the learning curve, and it's going to be really hard to catch up.
Yeah. And you just led me into one of the thoughts I had is, we talk about ChatGPT and there's a lot of these AIs.
There's a lot of
so many of them.
Yeah.
If you use an AI for something, you can use it to write your stuff and then post it. You can use it to tell you what to do. But I think one of the things that you should do is have the conversation with the human about it. So like if you've got a partner or a business partner, or if you've got somebody, a partner a friend, somebody that you connect with, have those conversations about what you're seeing in AI, what you're reading, because that piece is the piece that engages. You were talking about COVID. Look, you can drive up to HEB now and get your groceries outside. All of that came out of COVID, and you can order them online. A lot of people love that. I don't, because I want to go in HEB and I want to meet you. If I go in HEB and there's nobody in there to meet,
I don't ever have to go in the grocery store. I hate the grocery store.
But I like the interaction, the being around. I'm around kids all day. So
I understand that. Yes, I get it. But you know what, for me, I can go to a networking event.
Yes.
And on my way home from the networking event, I can pull up at HEB and I can put my groceries instead of so it would have been a choice. Do I go to the grocery store or do I go to a networking event that's going to make me money?
No. And I have that same dilemma, Stacy, every time I drive by that sign. Like, I get it. Okay. I could.
So I love curbside. Love it. You will very rarely run into me at HEB.
No, like we got about 8 minutes. Let me reset real quick. Thank you you guys for listening to my podcast, What Makes You Tick. Today, Stacy and I are having an authentic, engaging, purposeful conversation about trust, clarity, and traction within everything that we do. If you have any questions or comments, I know Sue Aller is the only one so far that's commented. I don't ever get a lot of comments, but if you do, we'd love to have you engage. Stacy, any takeaways, anything that you want to say before we move to the last segment?
I don't think so. Give me what you got next. Let's go.
Yeah. Okay. So guiding someone, you and I both, you got kids around us, you've got adults around us, you've got a ton of opportunity to, all of a sudden you have somebody that comes up to you and there's a pressure situation. How do you guide them through, how do you guide them to understand how trust is important when you're in a pressure situation, you need to accomplish your goals?
I think that you have to help them understand that if they don't have trust, they don't really have anything.
Yeah.
It's the relationship is not there. And so they're going to have to take the time. I think a lot of times under pressure, we think that it has to happen faster. And trust is something that grows. It's a seed that you plant. You think about it, you plant an apple seed.
Mm-hmm.
You have to water it. It's got to
Mm-hmm.
get the right amount of sun, the right amount of rain. It has to have plenty of time to grow. And then when it does grow, you don't get just one apple, you get bushels of apples.
Right.
Right. And it's the same thing with building trust.
Mm-hmm.
We have to nurture the relationship. It cannot be forced. It cannot be, you cannot demand trust. You cannot demand respect. Those things are earned and they are exhibited.
Yeah.
And all you can do is assure a person as much as you can, I am going to do my best to do the right thing with whatever it is that you are giving me.
Yeah.
And there has to be a lot of authenticity with it. There has to be a lot of vulnerability, transparency too. I mean, some of the best relationships that I have developed have been when I have opened up to people and said, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to do this. I'm in a situation I've never been before. I feel under pressure. I feel inadequate. And then that's when people step up. It's when you're willing to say those things. They're like, well, I'll help you
Yes.
with it. Most of the time, that is what happens. But
or I know somebody that can help you with it.
I know somebody that can help you, but we really have to humble ourselves. We really have to humble ourselves and just to be trustworthy. We have to extend that trust to somebody first.
Agreed. You also have to trust yourself.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people, there's a difference between being arrogant and thinking you're the smartest person in the room. Because if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Yeah.
But I think being able to trust yourself, I don't know that deep down that all of us trust ourselves like we should.
Yeah.
And especially in a pressure situation, that's huge. How do you teach somebody that?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a difference, it's between arrogance and competence.
Mm-hmm.
So it's being confident, and I like to tell people, these are the things I know that I can do. I know I can deliver on these things. You tell me if that's going to meet your expectation. And if not, then what can I do to meet that expectation? We also have to stay in our lane. Don't get outside of our industry. Don't get outside. Just because we can do something, it doesn't mean we should do it. So I think when we start veering outside of what our area of expertise really is, we start to get into some gray areas. We confuse ourselves. We confuse other people when we do that. Our messaging is not consistent or clear when we do that. So, but trust takes time and it is earned.
It's huge.
And there's nothing you can do to speed it up.
No, there's nothing. No, and it's funny because, as a teacher, and I had a conversation with a mom this afternoon before I left. She wanted to know about her son and how her son was doing. And I'll always try to be as kindly honest as I can, because if I just sugarcoat it, I'm never giving them anything that they truly can use. Right. And you can't build that trust. And the biggest message I try to get to her, and I try to get to all my parents and all my kids. I've got freshmen. But if you don't tell me that you're struggling with this, you show up, teach me. I've already taught you once. What do you need to focus on? And it helps me to understand where my starting point is, and we can get to something I can help you faster. But the kids, especially young people, have a hard time understanding what that means. Adults do too.
They do. It's not just the kids.
They're afraid of. No, you're correct. They're afraid of. Well, what if I'm wrong? What if they think bad of me,
or being embarrassed, or
I think stupid. I think I'm stupid.
Yes.
That kind of stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
Stop. That's your inner voice telling you something that you don't need to hear.
That's
if you voice it out, it gets it out of your body, and it allows those people, or the energy, if you will, to come to you to be able to answer that. Holding on to it, worrying about your ego does not.
Yeah.
And and at that time, that's going back to trust. There's no better way to build trust or know who you can trust, because if I put it out there and you make fun of me, you're not somebody I can trust.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you find out exactly what you need to do when you start putting that stuff out there, even though our egos kind of want to block it.
Yeah. Yeah, no. I agree. And I want to put this out there too. We think we're under pressure, and we have to respond to that post. We have to respond to this email. We have to do something right away. And I'll tell you something that I have learned, and it has served me so well, and I like to share it with people. When I am in a pressure situation like that, or something's happened that I don't like, I wait 3 days before I respond. I call it my 3-day rule. Why 3 days? Because Jesus waited 3 days to come out of the tomb. My email can probably wait for me.
72-hour rule.
Yes. And so all I have to say is I have never regretted waiting 3 days. There have been plenty of times that I have regretted not waiting 3 days.
Correct.
To my response. So thoughtful introspection, it leaves the time for the emotion to leave if we're upset, angry, questioning, feel judged in any way. It gives time for the emotion to leave the situation and for you to think objectively about it. For me, pray about it. How do I, so I like to throw that out there too.
No, I love that. Look, you're officially the longest. You're the first guest that I've had that's gone over an hour.
Well, I like being a record breaker.
No. So we probably the last thing I want to get to. I know. The last thing I always get to is it's kind of two parts, but I'm going to combine it. You got kids. What's the best advice on how important trust, clarity, and traction, or trust and clarity are into achieving their dreams? What would you give advice
for kids? Well, I do not have children
for
myself.
youth, and for youth, I mean, it could be anybody younger than us.
I have cats, not kids. All right. So advice that I would give them on what now?
On how important trust and clarity are in chasing their dreams.
Oh, okay. Yes. So number one is that people are always more important than the goal. And that the consequences of the choices that you make and the way that you treat people, they will follow you wherever you go. And so you have to always put people first in your decisions and think not only how are they going to affect you, but more so how are they going to affect the people in your life. And I think when you start to look at it through that way, it brings clarity.
Yeah.
Because when you start to think of how is this going to affect the other people in my life, how's this going to affect me, then it brings the clarity of, is this the choice that I really want to make?
Right. No, I love that. And when you can tie that into being disconnected, too many of our youth are connected. It gets you to the real world, and it gets you to real people.
It does.
In the end, that's all we are. We're just people.
We're just people. And I say that all the time. Behind every business is people. We're not talking to businesses. We're talking to people who make up the businesses. So I think this younger generation that, the kids that are coming up, the kids that you're teaching right now, so much potential. Holy cow.
Yeah.
So much potential. So much. And so I want to see them use their powers for good.
Yes.
So, but the human element has got to be brought, and it's not all of them. I don't want to say that it's all of them. But the human element has got to be brought back into it. And I think we have forgotten a lot of times the consequences of our actions, and that what we do and say does affect other people. And once it's on social media, it's on there forever.
It is. And it's not your main driver.
It doesn't go away. Yeah.
No. So look, Stacy, everybody, we're going to wrap it up. Just connect, follow me on LinkedIn, YouTube. Now we're on Spotify. So you'll see this at the end. I'll post it in about 30 minutes with all the links on it.
Yep.
Stacy, please share any way people can get your LinkedIn. How's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Yes. So you can find me on LinkedIn at Stacy Harris, and it's Stacy Harris Consulting. And my email is stacy@stacyharrisconsulting.com. No E in Stacy. You can find me on Facebook as well. And then my website is just stacyharrisconsulting.com. And I would love to help anybody that I can with their sales, with their networking, all of that good stuff. I have offerings, small business owners, medium, large companies, everything in between. So anybody that I could help, it would be my pleasure to do that. You can become one of my friends that I went to all play together.
And we're on the north side. Do you have any events coming up or anything where people
would? Thank you for asking. Yes. So I have my annual speed networking event. It is December the 5th. We're going to be in the Woodlands on the Sam Houston State campus at the Woodlands Center. It is from 9 to 11 a.m. We are about 75% sold at this point. So don't wait to get tickets. You can go to my Facebook page or LinkedIn. You can see the ticket link there. But would love for anybody in the North Houston area that wants to come and join it. We're going to have a $25 a ticket, coffee bar, hot chocolate bar, light bites, and more networking than you can handle.
Gosh. So when we post this, look for the follow-up, find Stacy.
Yes.
And make sure. Yeah. And we have Cup of Joey coming up here in the Woodlands. Cup of Joey coming up the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. I will actually be off of school and can be there. So come out. Yeah. Come out. Everybody come out and see us. We have the Cup of Joey that's always on Friday down at the Ion, and we have tons of them. Other networking events, I'm going to push Cup of Joey because I'm a part of it, but Stacy has great connections and great events that you can go to. And there's other ones that are around. Go find one. Go find somebody that you may or may not know.
People.
Go find your people. I love that. Look, Stacy, thank you for being the guest on today. It's been an honor.
Thank you, Bryan. Thank you.
No, awesome. Let's go make an impact on the lives in our community through trust, clarity, and traction. Let's be transitional over transactional. You can find me on LinkedIn. Stay connected for future episodes of and a deeper conversation with my next guests. Stacy, it's been amazing. Please find my friend on LinkedIn and look for her email. Join me next week. I have a really interesting guest. Her name is Jill Sweeney, and we'll look on the direction of tech and the future of AI. I know.
Oh, yay.
She'll be great. She's a great.
You'll know so much more than I did. Yeah.
I'm going to learn. What are you talking about? Guys, go out there. Have a great week.
Thank you.
See you.
Thanksgiving to everybody. Thank you, Bryan.
You're welcome.